Welcome to the Creative Ticket podcast, brought to you by Pacific Video. I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast has been originally created, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people listening today. I am Geraldo Rodriguez, Sydney-based actor, writer, and director, and on this podcast I'll talk to artists from all over the world about their craft, their careers, inspirations, and insights. If you are an arts fanatic like myself, make sure to follow and subscribe so you won't miss out on new episodes. Glenn Skuthorpe is a singer and songwriter. He won Best Music Award in the Adelaide Fringe in 2021, 2023 and 2024, which means he was awarded every time he participated. He has released 6 albums and his 7th album is soon to be released. He has also created the First Nation Voices, a production company focused on bringing First Nations artists to the stage. Welcome, Glenn. It's such an honor to have you on the Creative Ticket.
Thank you, Geraldo. Nice to be here.
Thank you. I'm going to start with your beginnings. You were born in an Aboriginal reserve in Goodooga, small town in New South Wales, almost 800 kilometers from Sydney. You grew up with music around a campfire. What was it like? Did those early days influence you to become a musician?
Yeah, well, growing up in such a small town like Goodooga, it's, like in wintertime, because we didn't have paved road from the town centre down to the reserve, and so, if it rained, we wouldn't get to school because we had to walk through because Goodooga is sort of black soil. And if it rained, it was so boggy. And so then that's where the sort of like the music came into it. My father was a collective of old country music records. And so that's how, sort of country music played a big part in my growing up. And in my music journey, because it's, they sang about hardship and we lived it. And so and the guitar playing sort of came along, with the likes of Hank Williams and, then in the later years we started listening to a lot of Aboriginal people like Roger Knox and old Uncle Col Hardy and Jimmy Little. And so that's how the sort of like, growing up in a small town, and it was isolated because Goodooga didn't have paved roads. If it rained, you couldn't get out of Goodooga because there was no paved roads to get us to the nearest towns. So, music played a big part in our upbringing. Yeah.
And did your siblings, did your family, were they always into music as well?
Yes, like I said, my father did really good collection of American country music, and went from Hank Williams right down to the likes of Johnny Orton, Merle Haggard, Waylon Willie, Kitty Wells, and all that. So you grew up with them, and my mum was a really good singer. On her side of the family, she had 8 brothers, and they all were guitar players. So I guess that's where, one of my uncles, where he more or less showed me how to play a guitar. He knew 3 chords, he's D, G, and A, and I was fascinated by him playing, and so he showed me D, G, and A, I said, is there any more? And he said, that's all you need to know. So that's how I learned how to play guitar, with the D, G, and A, from my uncle. And he knew about 150 songs. And he only knew 3 chords. He said, that's what you need to know. Okay. And that's where it started. Yeah.
And you moved to Sydney by yourself at a very young age. You were 13 years old. Why did you move?
Well, it was, I had a help. My eldest brother was down there working and funnily enough, he was working in Redfern as a gyp rocker, and went and stayed with him for an holiday, to his school holidays, and more or less never went back, and more or less stayed with him for about, I don't know, over a year or probably a couple of years, and just sort of hung around Sydney with him and seen a lot of, great Black Lace, probably one of my favourite band and back in the days. And that's when I started to really listen to, that much more brighter reggae and rock and roll, and, that type of music, ska reggae, what, we like to play. And, so that's more or less started back, when I was a kid, living in Sydney with my brother. It was pretty interesting. But it was, Sydney back in the day was, she was beautiful. Yeah.
And you went straight into Redfern?
Yeah, that's where he worked in down at the block, and so I had a big, thing with Redfern when I was a kid. So, and used to go down there every day, and my brother, and he lived in Milton Point, and so I used to catch the train over and come into the block and watch him work, and but there was a lot of people from back home and places like Walgett, Weewar. So there was a lot of people there that were originally from the bush or my area where I came from. So it wasn't a lonely place. It was, it was, you go to one house and have a cup of tea, and you go to another house and, have a jam and play music. And so it wasn't a lonely place. It was actually quite good. I enjoyed it. What I can remember of it, I did. Yeah.
And a little bit about your background. Your totems are the sand goanna and the cat kangaroo. What does a totem mean?
Totem to us is on my mum's side is the guga, which is the sand goanna. And on my dad's side, it's the Noonabara Kuma mob. It's the boda, the red kangaroo, and the gulbri, the emu. So that's the totem of my parents, and like there's Kuma, Noonabara, Murawari, Nyumba, Bartangi. So that's all my mob on my father's side and my grandparents' side on both sides. So that's, but I'm a sand goanna, I'm a guga, and that's my totem.
Does that influence your personality? Is that all your ancestrality that is translated into those totems?
Yeah, well, it is. And it's, like it, first thing we ask mob, if first time we meet another Aboriginal person, we always say, where you from? And, they'll say, oh, I'm from, this place. And, they'll sort of go back and say, oh, my totem is this. And because it's connection to where you're from. And, we can't eat it, we can't arm it. Our totems is our, our blessings from our, not so much a blessing, but from our mother's side. And because, we Mother Earth, and so that's where the totem thing comes into it. And but it's it's a sign that we, every time I go, I'm always a little sand gratter would run across the road, and you're walking around, looking at things, and you see a red kangaroo stand there from the, so there's, they present themselves to you when you go home and walk on country, and that you always see your totem. They present themselves to you.
Amazing. And from those early days in Redfern to the release of your first album, Out of the Darkness, in 2001, a long time passed. I imagine you were doing music all along. Yeah,
well, I lived in Newtown, Erskineville actually, and it was a mecca back then in the days where, every pub had music. And I was quite lucky in that sense that, you would go down to the Rose, and there's a few other pubs around Erskineville, Newtown, Redfern, Annandale, a bit further out southwest. And so I did, and got to know really a lot of, famous artists who lived in the area. And but it was a big music family all back in the day, and just first come across Redfern, and there's places like the Erskineville Hotel, and so it was a mecca for people who came from the bush, and but it was always had a good collective of different types of genres in music, sense of blues, and had a blues Sunday, but no, it was folk. There was a lot of folk, which back what I did Out of the Darkness, it was more of a sort of semi-folk album.
And country music, folk music was always your style of interest?
Oh yeah, definitely, because it's what I grew up with. With the acoustic guitar, and the country music, and how we identified with country music through the hardship when growing up. Living on a reserve, and it's the truth telling about country music and folk. There's nothing fake about it. It's how they lived it, and they sang about how they lived. Just like the blues, they lived it and they sang about it, and the hardship, and there's a. So that's what the kind of country music, folk and blues identifies as. With us, because it was the hardship, and we identified with it because we lived it.
I see. And your first album, Out of the Darkness, include the songs Cradle to the Grave, Newtown Blues, Jimmy Lee. It was your first album. It was released independently, and already included those elements you just mentioned: truth-telling, storytelling, and your intense country style. My first question is, had you been composing for a while when you decided which songs would make into the album?
Yeah, well, I because always it extends back to the country music, and all we had no TV when I was growing up in Kaduga. But I used to love listening to Silkwood and Dylan Thomas, and the ABC had a channel where, Blake and Keats people would be reciting poetry on the wireless, on the radio. And we'd sit there and just listen to it, and I was so fascinated how, people can just, express themselves into poetry and just spoken words, and it fascinated me. And when I started, Cradle to the Grave came about with my friend who was killed in a police cell in a little town called Brewarrina, Lloyd Boney, and I wrote this song, and it was one of the hardest songs. I think it was the first song of the album that I wrote. And when I had enough money to get into studio with a producer called Steve Francis, and I was I didn't have enough songs. I think there's about 12 songs on the record, and I think I had about 9 or 10 or something. So I went away, and Newtown Blues was I think the last song I wrote for the album. I think I had couple of hours to do it, and so I went home that night and penned Newtown Blues, and and it was Steve Francis, who great producer, and I did a couple of albums with him. But no, and we just did it, and it was semi-acoustic band, and it's because what we had little money we had, so we had to make it work, and Steve went far and beyond what he was paid for, and just to make it happen. And I'll always be grateful for the Steve Francis, great man. And so Jimmy Lee was, like one of those songs. He was a friend. His name was James, and he passed on now. And it's about, I think Jimmy Lee's about somebody who loves to smoke and do a little bit of cocaine and that. So and it was more or less, I wrote the song Jimmy Lee about him. Yeah.
And what was it like to release an independent album in 2001?
Well, it was hard. It was, because we were scratching to make the album, but it's, like Out of the Darkness, and I think that the year after, I think I went to Canada and I took it over there, and it's got a lot of radio airplay in Canada back in the day, and probably more than I got here. But it was so hard to just independent, if you don't have anything behind you, like, we was just sort of, career radio and 3KND and Murray Country up in Brisbane flogged the album, but I think, that's, we couldn't get any sort of, big name record company behind us, so that was a bit disappointing, because like your first album was always, to me, it's my favorite, always my favorite.
And your second album, Restless Soul, included the hits No More Whispering and My Name Is. No More Whispering is part of the soundtrack for the documentary Utopia by John Pilger. How did you create that song? Was it created for the documentary?
No, it's No More Whispering it's about another young Aboriginal man from my own town of Gaduga, and he was playing football for Manly Warringah, and he went up north, up to Maxville, up north coast of New South, and he was racially vilified, and he was shot in a park in Maxville, and it made big news. And I was working on my second album, with the same producer, Steve Francis, and the news came out, and so that was the last song I wrote for Restless Souls, and so it was such an hard song to write, because I knew I knew Kane very well, and it's always an emotional thing to talk about somebody when, even to this day, and I'm not quite sure how long ago, but it was a long time ago, but it's still, still emotionally drained when I sing it and when I talk about it. And but no, that's how No More Whispering come about. And then when Utopia was coming out, John Pilger heard it on. I did a radio interview with Murray Country up in Brisbane, and they put it on the YouTube page, and John was sitting over in London, and he just looking for a song to put on Utopia, and he came across it, and next morning he just rang me up, and the rest is history.
Amazing. And I imagine it's hard even to talk about it. A little bit later, you released a single called This Is Australia. It's an epic protest song that deals with violence and other contemporary issues of Australia today. Was it also a response to Kane's tragedy?
Yeah, well, exactly, and this, like, I wasn't doing any records at the time, and all the stuff that happened in Cronulla, and with the riots there, and Pauline Hanson and so I wanted to do a song that was just predict every little aspect of, the racism that's sort of, that, immigrants, Aboriginal people, just non-white people face every day in this country, because it's such a systemic thing here. And, like we Australians tend to just don't like their own, and Aboriginal peoples, and, immigrants, and, so that's, and I wanted to put this song together. And it's so funny. It's never got off the ground here, but it did a lot of good in places like Canada, America, and Germany. So it's such a strange that you can sort of make a little bit more money overseas than what you can do in your own country, and I think that's what this is, Australia, and I think this sort of our the song come about with the racism, and if you're black you can make more money overseas, but you can't make more money in your own country. And that's but you like, a lot of people walk up to me and say, gee, I love that song, and some people like the guitar, and I said, well, it's a bit more than just got a really fancy lick, but listen to the words. But there's a lot of people that sort of come up, and non-Indigenous people come up to me and say, I really like that song. I didn't, it opened a lot of people's eyes to the systemicness of racism that's happened in this country. And I think when we write songs like that, that's our goal, is to, if we can change one person out of 10 to change their minds on racism, I think we're doing a good job.
And your motivation to writing, creating, singing, composing, does it come for a will, for a desire for a better society?
Well, it is, and I think that's what we write, and like everywhere I go, people always say, "Can you sing No More Whispering? Can you?" But we write to make a change, and to make, like you just said, to make a better society, and to have a society that's it's never going to be perfect. Let's get that straight. It's but if we, like I just said, if we can change the mindset of a couple of people, and then we could have that role effect that a couple of people can go on and make a change to some other people they know. But we do write to to bring joy, and but then there's another side of us that Indigenous people wants to make a change, because we got a voice, and there's a lot of people out there who don't have voices, and I guess that's who we sing for.
I find it really fascinating, Glenn, how those issues persist so many years. Do you see a way out? Do you see in the future, do you have hope for a society that is actually egalitarian?
Well, yeah, we can only hope so, and but like is it getting any better? It's I just I fail to see that it's getting any better, and the more that the right wingers around the world are just in every country now. There seem to be right wing fascist and people getting voted into power, and I think America could be the next one. And so like, are we getting closer to having a egalitarian kind of society? I just think that I think it's so far away that it's would we see it in our lifetime? We would hope so, because I have kids and grandkids, and you go for a better future for them, because but is it going to get any better? I, I I just fail to see how it's going to get any better. Like the world is just, yeah, it's crazy.
And do you see a reason why things are going that way? Or is it always been like this?
Well, I think it's always probably been like this, but I think when one country comes out and, can dictate another country, and, it's then the other countries sort of, well, okay, they can do it, we can do it too. So, and I think it's always there. It's just take the one little bomb to fall on some country, and then that's the domino effect of how the rest of the world want to treat people who doesn't look like them and act like them, and so it is going to get any better. It's just I fail to see it. One would hope so, but yeah, I think the world is just turning full circle towards so far right that it's pretty scary actually, and what's happening over in the Middle East, and places like Gaza it's mind-boggling how they can get away with it, and the rest of the world just sit back and look.
It's really saddening. It's a really sad view. I agree. And do you find that music plays a part in, if not changing completely, because we wish we could change things just through art, but what part does music play in that scenario?
Well, I think music plays a really, really big part. And, and, like it's things like Rome, Adelaide, and there's, music of the world kind of festivals that happen around the world, and you see different, but even through music, there was I think it was last year here in Adelaide that a Middle East band was stopped playing. They wasn't allowed. They were scheduled to play at One Adelaide, and as they was coming over on the plane, they had, when they landed somewhere in Sydney, I think it might have been, and they were told to go back because they wasn't allowed to play, and they were from a Middle East country. And so even through music, there's still that political, dominance by, the Führers of the world, and it was mind-boggling how easily that, certain country out over a festival like One Adelaide, and I'm not quite sure what the name of the band was. Well, I think they were from Middle East, and they were just told that they wasn't allowed to play. So even through music, we have the element of, racism, power, that they can just stop a band from playing at a major festival like One Adelaide. And even through nameless faces that say no, they're not playing, and they were told that they got to Sydney, turned around and went back to the Middle East. So even music has its racism, has its, keeping the oppressed down on the knees.
And do you find that art and politics are always together?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, it's, they say it's not, but it's, I think art is so reliant on politics through grants and monetary things for festivals, tours, and so it's a tricky one. It's you would hate to think that politics and arts don't go hand in hand, but it's I think the politics does play. They keep their finger on the pulse with music in the political arena, and it shouldn't be, but it's it's a sort of it's there, the political aspect of. I think they still want to control people in music and the arts, and it shouldn't be, but it's there.
And in that, you've started the First Nations Voices, which is a production company founded to bring to stage First Nations artists. You've won multiple awards through First Nations Voices. Is that a response, and is that being a way for First Nations artists to be more recognized and to reach broader audiences?
Yeah, well, when I started out, it was, I think, might have been 2000 or might have been, it started off over with the Cree Nation in Northern Ontario, a place called Moose Factory, and with a musical family there called the Chichus. And so we started off this First Nation Voices and bringing First Nation Voices to Australia, and we go over to Canada and America, and it's been going now for a while. We had an Apache, we had Cree, we had one Chilean Indigenous man called Lenny, and but even when we went on tour, there was me, another Indigenous artist, Bartonji, called Nancy Bates, and Lenny is the Chilean, and we took a little tour and going back through places like Silverton, Broken Hill, and every town where we went, we picked up a First Nations artist to jump on stage with us. We had a full band, we had the full entourage, and we took it all the way to all these little country towns, and to see young kids get up with a professional band, it was just such, it's brought a tear to my eye, because I played these little towns when I was a kid, and but to go back as a artist and with a band, and but just get these kids, anybody, just who wanted to get up and they wanted to play, and we had like 5-year-olds get up and dance and on stage and sing on stage to karaoke tune, but it was, and this is the way we want to keep it going through 5-year-olds right through to 50, 60-year-olds, and but it was First Nation Voices is all about, and we've got a tour of Canada coming up later this year, and then we've got another big festival called the Red Feather Festival up in Queensland, which is going to be all Indigenous artists from all around the world, and so it's looking good at the moment. And but the First Nation Voices is, the win awards for it is pleasing.
And another question on that same note, there is an element in art of either a virtuose or wanting to do the right thing or to do something that is successful, but at the same time there is an element of just getting people to follow what you're doing or to share what you're doing with people. How do you balance those two elements?
Well, it's like I was just saying, like it's these people out in the country that never even, some of them never even left their homes, like their own towns, and but to take a full band with people who they see on TV and hear on the radio, and because it's so isolated, it's the bushes, and when we went there, like we were getting 100 more people than what we get into cities. We were getting 150, 200 people, which was, it was, and every show was free, and so we would play at RSLs, we'd play at pubs, we'd play out in the open. Back in my hometown, we just did a gig, out in the artesian bores, and we just set up the band there, and then we started playing. Then a couple of people said, "Oh, can I have a go?" Yeah, jump up. So like it was that collectiveness of bringing people together, and that's what First Nations Voices. We do it all around the world, but it's just bringing people together to share stories, and people get up there and sing first. So I wrote this song, and I said, "Oh, sing it." So they'll get up there and sing it, and but it's given them a voice too. And then they'll sing a song that they just wrote, and it makes them proud to know that there's a voice there that they can hear and listen to, and then we listen to them, because it's they don't have a voice out in the bush, and that's what we're trying to bring to it, and especially through music, and and it's such a thing, but the balance of bringing them all together is, we can just, and the more we do it, the more we get good at it, and so we're going to take a pretty big entourage to Canada, and we'll do a couple of months tour of Canada, and places. Then we're going to try and get to places like Scandinavia, Germany, and take the First Nation Voices to countries that, well, it's going to be a never-ending, road for the First Nation Voices, troop.
Amazing. And when you collaborate with Canadian artists, with Apache artists, with Cree artists, is it different from collaborating with people here in Australia? Is it a different musical sound? Is it a different vibe?
Look, it's not so much different, but it's like when I sit down with the Cree mob, they get the same story as us, they, and there's, when I sit down with the Apache mob, we all got the same stories. We sit down, when I sit down with Lenny and just talk to him and have a yarn to him, his family escaped Pinochet and ended up in Adelaide. And when they first came to Adelaide, it was the Aboriginal people who took them in and learned him about the culture of the Kaurna people, and even to this day, but we might be come from different parts of the globe, but our story's the same, and we all suffer the same struggle, just through white oppressiveness, and but our story's the same, and we just put music to our struggles, and we sound different, but our stories remains the same, because it's what happened over in Cree, Chile, and it happened here, so we all got the same. But to bring it all together, and like, well, I think we did a gig in Broken Hill but we want to take it to these places where, and these big miners, and there's they're all drunk because they're drunk. We played at 7 o'clock, and they were started drinking about 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. It was pretty interesting, but and Lenny's only a little, short Indigenous Chilean, and so these big burly, they kept walking up to the stage drunk, asking us to sing, Kaisan or some Cold Chisel song. We're singing our own songs, but that's the kind of thing that. But we got to face that when we travel to little country towns where, we want to sing our songs, and we want to change you, mate. And we don't sing Cold Chisel or some Lee Kernaghan songs, or it's nothing. We're here to educate, and we're not here to segregate. We're here to educate. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm gonna go back to one of your songs, Redfern Girl. It's on the album Nothing Like Rain. For those who are not familiar with Redfern, what is the importance of Redfern?
Well, Redfern was a mecca to people traveling from the country to the city, and don't care which way you came from. You come from the north, south, east, or west. Every person ended up in Redfern because they would have knew somebody who lived there. Because it was made up of people from the north, which is north coast New South, or the south coast of New South. I had cousins who lived in Redfern way before my brother, when he started working there a long time ago, and a lot of cousins there, and so it was a mecca for people to come there to the city, and you get out of bed, and Redfern Girls sort of came out when I got a daughter who lives in Redfern, and so I wrote that song for her, and and Redfern Girls is a song about someone who wants, there's a whole wide world out there, you just got to go and find it, and just don't, because it's such a beautiful place, Redfern. It can, draw you back and never make you leave. And yes, there was a funny story about Redfern Girl and my daughter. She loves her music, and the Sydney Festival rang me up one time. They said, we want to use the song Redfern Girl, and artist, and they said that the artist was going to sing it, and I said, yeah, that's all right, yeah, no worries. So when the Sydney Festival, I don't know what year it was, but then they sang it, and my daughter was there, and I was talking to her one time, and she said, yeah, Glenn, they're singing better than you. I said, okay, no. I was thankful for the vote of confidence towards your old dad, but anyway. Yeah, she was pretty impressed the way they sang it, and okay, yeah, well, yeah, but it's really funny. I got a couple of people where, and when I did No More Whispering, I was up in before John Pilger, heard it, and it was a sort of cut back version, which I didn't intend to do. I meant to sing the whole song, but I forgot, because I walked into the studio and they said, and it was just like the spur of the moment. And because it's such a long song, and I haven't done it for a while, and this old uncle up there said, I need you to sing my favourite song. So he just put the mic down, and I'm a guitar man, I'm going, and he pressed a button, and he started talking about it, and I was left like, Anyway, so I got it. I was rolling with it. I thought, oh, now I got it. I got it. Anyway, so I forgot a couple of. I forgot a couple of few lines. I think I forgot. And then, anyway, so all these lights started, flashing on his desk, and he go, "What's going on here?" People ringing up. He forgot my favourite song. And all I did was forget a line of the song, and people ringing up, and but it's the beauty about people want they, and when you write songs, it's an element of you write for the people you don't write for yourself, and like even in Adelaide, or I did a gig in Melbourne the other night, and I forgot a verse to a song, and these people walked up and said, "How can you forget my song?" So people, they want to have ownership of songs, and I get it all the time, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll write it down next time. But I'm one of those artists who can't stand putting lyrics up in front of you, and I can't do that, so I just wing it all the time, and I get in trouble for it. I get in trouble for the passion of my own art.
That's something to be really proud of.
Yeah, no, it is, and I get it all the time. People just say, you forgot the lyrics of my song." "Your song? Okay." I said, "Okay, well, I'll remember it next time." Yeah.
There are several references to rain in a few of your songs, and one of your albums is titled "Nothing Like Rain." How do you relate to rain?
Well, it's because when I was a kid, growing up in Kaduga, and even to this day, it's the sound and the title of one of the songs, "Rain on an Old Tin Roof." I can always remember rain on an old tin roof, and the melodic and the beautiful sound that it made. And I used to lay there and just, even back then, I was thinking about poetry. I was thinking about Blake, and putting some of Blake poetry to the sound of the rain on the old tin roof. And but that's my fascination about rain, and I love it. There's something about it that's it makes you just, you can visualize dancing in the rain on a roof, and but there's poetry, there's everything, there's music, there's everything, that's rain on an old tin roof, and it's just takes you back to my childhood.
And your next album is soon to be released. It's your 7th album. What can people expect?
Well, what people are going to expect is something different, and it's not too far apart from my last two, because my last album was a sort of acoustic, and this one is going to be a double album where one side of it's going to be acoustic, and the other side is going to be full-on band, and there's going to be a couple of songs on there that's is going to have a lot of meaning to missing Indigenous girls that's go missing around the world, and it's called Roll My Sevens, and it's about missing Indigenous girls. So there's going to be, it's going to be totally different to everything else I made, and I like to do that. I like to write like that, and I think I got about 50 odd songs to choose 24. So yeah. But it's hopefully be out in late September. It's on track. The full band songs are finished, and because picked up a flu in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, and haven't been able to get into the studio. So I'm looking forward to getting into that and knocking it over, and get it finished and get it out there and get on the road with it.
And is it a collaboration with other artists that you've played with before?
No, this one is that's going to come when we did the sit down with a few artists here in Adelaide, from Canada, America, and I think there's going to be a Scandinavian Indigenous artist who's going to start collaborating with us, but we hope to get some New Zealanders, some Maoris, and so we want to have a big, First Nations Voices festival one time, and just to get it off the, and I'll get speak with my brother up in Queensland, Doomadgee, and start sort of collaborating with him and bring it all together and have a big festival.
Amazing. And my final question, Glenn, is a question I ask all the guests on the Creative Ticket, is what makes you, you?
What makes me, me? I'm authentic. I don't know if that's true. No, look, I'm an honest person, and it's come through with my music. I love golf. I love playing golf. I love my sports. I love my Rabbitohs. I love my Sydney Swans. I guess, and I love playing music. I think that's me. I don't know what else more can I say about myself.
I think that's plenty. You are the things you love.
Yeah. Well.
Amazing. Glenn, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being on the Creative Ticket. It's really been an honor to talk to you. And finally, if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Just go to my webpage, Glenn Skuthorpe Music, and they'll find everything there, and just email and see where I'm playing next, to see what I'm doing, see what I'm up to. We do get back to people very quickly, and because a lot of people, we have a lot of people saying where you play, and whenever you come into Western Australia, when you come into New South Wales, but it's all there on the webpage, so people can sort of.
I think that's it. Again, thank you so much, Glenn. It's amazing to talk to you. I'm so glad we got to meet.
Oh, thank you, Geraldo. Well, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Ticket podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please remember to share this with your friends and family and subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. Feel free to reach out to hello@pacificvideo.com.au for feedback and suggestions. We would love to hear from you. Take care